Welcome to the I-80 Club and the final after Nebraska football of the 2025 season, alongside Jack Mitchell and the brand new host of Unemployed with Mike Schaefer. Well, it's Mike Schaefer. Hello,
Hey.
Schaefer. Hello, Jack. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Should I also have a can of subpar pop to display as I come into
wow.
the
Okay,
show
number one, the Tommy Boy take, and number two, the Diet Mountain. You are not ingratiating.
I actually don't have any issue with Diet Mountain Dew.
Oh,
you just wanted to troll.
You were a gratuitous troll on there. Okay,
it's just an easy way to start my 2026 is just to get under Jack Mitchell's skin. You know, that's
great.
One of those
I've
things.
experienced about.
You invited me into the hen house. This is what happens.
I've experienced about 7 minutes of 2026. I did not set an alarm this morning, and I am not a sleeper inner anymore, sadly. But apparently this morning I was, and I did the whole look at the clock thing, and I was like, oh crap.
It was like Home Alone.
It's 9 o'clock. It's 8:50. So these are my first words of the new year. Plus, I went to bed before midnight. Wow.
Incredible.
Amazing. Man, do I suck.
Shape, how's 2026 treating you so far?
Not too bad. Had some cinnamon rolls. My kid's been up for several hours at this point in time. So unlike Jack, that wasn't the similar case here, but I couldn't think of a better way to start 2026 and talking about that performance that ended 2025 for Nebraska football. I don't know about you guys, but I am just bursting at the seams to just dive into that to that game yesterday and all the great things that we saw that should give everyone hope and enthusiasm for the upcoming 2026 season, with all the great stuff that's been built and ready to go. After 3 years of Matt Rhule football, they're ready to just explode more like the Challenger off the launch pad as we get into 2026.
My wife just read a book about the Challenger explosion, so that reference hits a little harder in the Peterson household today, Mike Schaefer.
I use that reference a lot for someone who I don't think was even alive when that happened. So
yeah, when's the Challenger, Jack? Was that
85? January 85? Or 86? 86? Yeah, we're coming right up on the 40-year anniversary of it. Amazing.
Wow, perfect timing by me then.
Wow.
50. What is that?
Nebraska's
That's
tribute
40.
to the Challenger is to have a season that emulates it. So, that's what they got going for them.
Amazing. Amazing.
Well, welcome in, everybody. This is After Nebraska Football. We did this.
We're worried about negativity on this show.
Yeah, there was a comment. I wanted to read this, and we'll be reading comments all throughout the pod this morning from our Discord server, and you can become a patron today at patreon.com/I80Club if you would like to hang out there, or you can drop us a super chat. There was this from Matt, who wrote, before we even started, why do you guys have to be so negative? Which I feel like is a great way to start the podcast, but we'll be here for the next hour or so recapping. I don't know how much we'll even be recapping the game. It seems like it will be more of a conversation about moving forward. And again, we will be reading comments from our subscribers all throughout the morning. Maybe a little playoff preview at the end, as well as the Buckeyes go down last night to Miami. So I'm in a tremendous mood today as we start 2026.
Go Canes!
Go Canes, indeed. It's all about the U, baby. Okay. Shafe, the game did not go very well. Nebraska got off to a lovely start. They go right down the field, 7-0 lead. I was at Monolithic for the first half, and there was a guy there who is not a Nebraska fan, but immediately he goes, I can't believe the spread was 14 points. And I said, it is really early, my friend. And after that touchdown, what was the run that Utah went on? Was it 38-7 or was it 44-7?
So I think, I tweeted about this. I put it in the Discord. I understand it's really early in the game. You're in your own territory. But this is sort of where it's like, I don't know, after 3 years and, watching, what are we at? 13, and 12. So 38 games of Matt Rhule in-game coaching.
Yep.
There are times, and this goes back to 2023, especially Maryland, Wisconsin, where I am never quite sure that the head coach of Nebraska football understands the type of game that he's in. It's 4th and 2. You're up 14-7 against a team that you were already prepared was going to put up points. So you knew you had to score. It's 4th and 2 and you're punting. It took them like 3 plays to get past the point on the field where they would have already started if you hadn't picked up 4th and 2. And I understand Nebraska's been a terrible short yardage situation team
all year.
I get that. But in what world did you think punting on 4th and short was going to somehow give you a better chance of winning in this football game? When you're already up 7, you already got to stop. Your defense already did more than what some people thought they would be able to do, which was force a singular punt. So the idea of even just punting there, just immediately it was like, oh, that's a bad sign. And then you know what Nebraska did? They went 5 straight drives without a first down.
Bad.
Just 3 and outs in almost all of them, right? Yeah. That would be 3 and out. Yeah.
They didn't have a singular first down until Mekhi Nelson ran past the yellow line on your television. And you thought to yourself, holy shit, guys, they did it. They managed to get past that yellow line, that invisible force field that they just haven't been able to solve for the last 5 drives. It blows my mind. And I'm just going to get this rant off my chest. I've been wanting to. Josh has heard some version of this since November. I think that Dana Holgorsen might have been the worst hire Nebraska has had as a coordinator. And that includes Bob Diaco, who got a coach fired, just because of how much advanced buzz there was about what this offense was going to be and what a creative mind he is. Have we seen any of that? Did you not watch Utah yesterday and all their different formations and all their different looks and all the different ways guys were schemed wide open and think to yourself, man, it'd be really nice to have an offensive coordinator who could do something like that? Instead, we have whatever it is that Dana Holgorsen has done now for 17 games, 18 games, in which the best it's looked was in November of 24 against Wisconsin. Yeah. That's the singular best that Nebraska football has looked offensively under Dana Holgorsen. And now you remove a quarterback that can at least sort of do a few things, and we'll see what they end up with out of the transfer portal. I don't know that yesterday was a great audition for TJ Lateef. I don't think we got the whole, now that Dylan's gone, he can really run his offense. Okay, that's his offense. It's still putting up 22 points a game against Power 4 competition. Great.
Isn't that amazing, well. Shape? Like, that was the number that we talked about for the last few weeks of the regular season last year in the bowl game. And then early on in this year, it finally starts to have a bit of an uptick against power competition in October. But in the end, like, they've always been kind of in that 22 point per game range, and they literally finished with 22 points yesterday against Utah.
And people are like, oh, well, why are we even talking about the offense when the defense can't stop anything? Here's why. And listen very closely if no one's explained this to you at this point in time. Nebraska invested probably 75% of its offseason resources into its offense to score almost the exact same amount of points per game. It's a little bit better than it was in 24 and 23 offensively at 22 points a game. They went out and they got wide receivers, and their best wide receivers didn't even have 700 yards this season. They spent heavily at quarterback, and they struggled with their passing offense because it was pass protection, concept, wide receivers. Dylan Raiola himself, when he got hurt, your passing offense basically went into the tank. They did all of this, and what they have to show for it is a guy that when you tell people that he was an All-American running back, you're kind of like, oh, wow, yeah. I mean, he had a really nice season, but, like, that's the Nebraska running back in the last 20 years that's been an All-American? Not Rex Burkhead, not Amir Abdullah, it was Emmett Johnson. They won 7 games. And even when Emmett would go gangbusters, they couldn't score more than 13 points or 16 points. Mm-hmm. This is all of these. So go back again. This is why we're talking about the offense. We're not talking about the defense because they didn't invest in the defensive line. They thought they could build it internally. That didn't work. They didn't invest in linebackers. They had to go get them on the cheap because they spent all their money on offense, on the offensive line that didn't block very well, on wide receivers that didn't have a particularly strong season, and an offensive coordinator that can't fucking do anything, apparently, with this entire group of players that he has. So this is why I'm talking about the offense. I'm not talking about the defense. They already fired John Butler. They already moved on from that. They're going to have to figure out so many pieces of this roster, and they're going to have to do it while they're determining they have players that are internal that can be developed, or if they have to go out and buy all of these different players to then plug them in. Because part of why yesterday mattered, and I understand whether they won or lost, it wasn't going to change generally how you felt going into 2026. But here's why yesterday mattered. You got a glimpse of all of these people that have been recruited for 3 years that have been built up behind you that went in to go play. And they looked unprepared. They looked sloppy. They couldn't fit run fits. You had Phil Snow talking about how they didn't do all of these things. And then what did they look like when he had the defense for a month? I get it's just a month, but there wasn't any change there. And there wasn't any impact player defensively. Andrew Marshall had a couple nice plays. That was the one guy that I felt like I noticed. Hopefully he's back. Once again, Nebraska had spent scholarships on like 20 different defensive backs. And yet all of their guys that have been relatively helpful for them are transfer portal guys. So, at some point, the internal development has to be there. And we didn't see that yesterday. And that is your big concern as you go into a period where they're going to have to go get players out of the portal. We already have question marks about their identifying of the players that they have gotten in recent years because they haven't ended up with an all-conference player out of the portal at this point in time. Or they have to develop them internally. Their best all-conference players have all been Scott Frost holdovers at this point in time, and Kenneth Williams. So that, I apologize that we got negative, but here, this is where we are. This was the big concern that I had. Like, you're 3 years in. What do you have? What are you building off of as you go into 2026? What did you spend 3 years building besides this culture that got its ass kicked for 3 straight games, the worst 3-game stretch since 2018? Let that sink in. It's the worst 3-game stretch since 2018. We spent so much time talking about culture and all of these things. And I get, yes, they've won 14 games over the last 2 years. That's good. I don't want to dismiss the fact that winning games is still important. You're going into your 4th year, and I can't tell you a single thing beyond special teams that could be okay for Nebraska.
And even that regressed at the end of the year.
Yeah, and it's hard to know because you have injuries, you have some other stuff going on, but it was still a very important part of their season. Like they're not getting 7 wins without the block punt against Michigan State or everything.
Kickoff return against Maryland.
So if nothing else, we saw that they improved in that regard. So, that's a credit to Matt Rhule. He went out and made that change. But you can be as optimistic as you want to be, and you can put your head in the sand and you can plug your ears. But it is really, really hard for me to sit here and tell anyone that wants to hear something positive. I don't know what it is. I really don't. Like, that's my struggle right now.
Yeah.
Jack, do you have any positives out of this season or out of this game?
It's so hard even, and I want, I would like to be positive. I'm not by nature somebody who's usually negative about the future. I skew the other way usually. I can't think of anything that makes me excited right now about next year. Like every single, in terms of the personnel that's coming back, what player am I most excited about next year for how they're going to, the factor that they're going to be on this team? Like Isaiah Hunter, if he would come back, maybe.
Well, that's the scary part about today, right? Like, I mean,
we'll
find out which pieces, there are certain guys you want to come back, but you don't know.
Like there are a few guys that I think, well, maybe last year was an anomaly. And like I really expected a big jump for them and they didn't take it. Ja'Cory Barney, Vincent Shavers, Riley Van Poppel. There's others too that I would say that would be on that list. Cam Lenhart, Keona Davis, even to some degree like Lindenmeyer I thought he at some point halfway through the season, he looked like he was going to be a weapon the whole year, the whole first half of the year, and then wasn't. So like I can't even my biggest hope for next year is that this year was an anomaly in development for a whole bunch of players. They stick around and or not a whole bunch, a handful, right? Like 5 to 10. And they stick around and they get back on whatever trajectory new coaching helps them. I have to squint beyond that to find like what else would there be? Like it's not that it's not even meant to just be a rip on Rhule, but there's nothing right now that you're looking at. You're like, well, I can see how this is right now. He's got a plan where this is going to work. I don't see that. I don't.
Jack, along those lines, Matt McMaster and I, when we did coffee last week, we were talking about like I can't remember how we phrased it, but essentially it was players you absolutely cannot lose to the portal. And we were trying to figure out how long that list would even be. Is it like 4 guys? Is it 5 guys? And that in a way
would be
that
on your list.
Great question. I would put Pritchett on there. I would put I think I would agree with Jack. I think an Isaiah Hunter would be on there. I'm just trying to go like position group by position group.
I'll give you some on my perspective here.
Okay. Yeah.
Pritchett, Winery. Yep.
Yes.
I mean I want all of those young defensive linemen back because I want another opportunity to see.
You want to see what can happen with them.
That's what I said.
You know, like I don't want to lose Van Poppel. Obviously, I have the most shares in Van Poppel. It's like my real life investments. I just watched it go to the bottom, and now I need to see if it can climb.
I know one other person who does. Anyway,
so all those young defensive linemen, and they're not young anymore. I mean, Van Poppel is going to be his 4th year in the program next year.
Justin Evans would be on the list.
Justin Evans was one that
some guys that it would be not. You'd be willing to give another.
It's pretty much all line, right?
Lindenmeyer, Carter Nelson, like pretty much anyone that has their hand in the dirt.
Shavers, I would say.
I don't know if that one's coming back.
I know. Well, I know. I don't know. Mike, I don't know if any of these are coming back. Like,
there's guys I feel good about. Shavers is not just based on advance, and who knows? I mean, these things are always fluid. I'm someone who thinks they have to rebuild their entire back end of their defense. Like, I think they have to invest or continue to stick with what they have up front and find maybe a plug and play guy in the middle. But then everything else, largely, you just have to hope that you can develop that up there. I think they have to overhaul their linebacker, their safety. I mean, they have so many scholarships invested in these Evan Cooper reclamation projects. He's not even here anymore. And these guys aren't able to see the field, or when they do, they can't do simple things. And one of the things we've learned from Nebraska's defense from 23 to 24 to 25, as the safety play has gotten a little bit worse each year, Nebraska's defense, it's just, They have to go get a legit safety, I think, in the portal. I think that has to be like a real thing because as much as I like Caleb Benning, he didn't get to play really until yesterday? And he had his struggles, and I'm thankful that they didn't call targeting on that.
Good Lord.
That would have been such a horrible, reason to make that call in that situation. So there's just a lot here, but yeah, I think a lot of it is if you can keep your guys up front that you like, that could be. And they have a couple guys from Hawaii on the offensive line. I think they're pretty excited about in Taumua and Houston Kahina Torres, guys that maybe fans haven't thought about in a while. Yeah. So there's definitely players that there's buzz about in the walls over there. But that buzz has to translate to you see it with your own eyes. That's been the biggest problem with this program is I hear about, oh, we really like this guy. We really like that guy. And it's like, okay, but when is he going to do something on the football field? When is it going to happen when the 60 minutes of gameplay is going on? Like Quinn Clark catching that touchdown and the couple nice catches he had, that's big because that's someone that I've kind of just been waiting like, okay, you struggle in the red zone. You want to throw all these fades. Like, go get your most athletic guy and let him post up a 6-foot defender and let's see what happens. He caught a touchdown pass. I hope we see more of that in 2026.
Schaefer,
not fades in general. I hope we see less fades. But if you're going to run them, Quinn Clark wouldn't be a bad person to run them to.
Schaefer, let me ask you this. So one of our commenters, one of our subscribers, Husker for MU, writes, we've regressed so seriously every November that it's impossible to have any faith. I heard something late in the year that the way in which they operate, they being the program at large and how they practice, like there are some that are wondering if they actually go too hard and that there is just such a fatigue that helps explains the 2-10 record in November and add in the bowl games, and it is 3-11. Over basically starting November 1 until the end of the year in each of the last few seasons. Have you heard similar in terms of the way in which they go hard in the paint early or all the time? And could that help explain it? Or is that too, I don't know, not even simplistic, where the issues are more how good the players are themselves and not that they're going hard in practices in September and October?
I would tend to believe it's not that Nebraska has practiced harder than the teams that they're losing to. Like, if we remember, Iowa's practices are famously difficult. They hit each other with 2x4s, covered in nails and whatever else it is.
Chew glass.
The Jerry DiNardo sees every year in the camp tour that just, he's never seen anywhere else. It's Junction Boys over there in Iowa City.
They don't drink water.
DiNardo. And yet they managed to finish out in the months of November and everything else just fine. So I don't think it's that Nebraska is getting pushed too hard early and then that causes them to fall off late. I think a lot of it is more simplistic than that. And I say this all the time, and Ohio State's not going to be a great example of this, and Josh is going to be fist pumping right now, but the Big Ten is the best coach conference in the country. You don't get easy, man. Like, they're good coaches every single week. Even like Luke Fickell has been a nightmare at Wisconsin. And look how well they played in the month of November this year. Like, that was a different version. Like, they were horrible. And then they got better, in part because he is a good coach, even if the program isn't very good.
Sure.
And then you look at the month of November this year, like, you run into Iowa and they just ran right through you. You get run right through by Utah and Penn State. I mean, you couldn't hold up at the point of attack. Like, eventually, maybe it is the season wears on you, but it's also like, here's your weakest point, and these three teams at the end of the year are just going to go right at it. And they did, and they had success with it. Maybe there's another version of how this season plays out if Nebraska wins that USC game and they're able to keep momentum up. But they went to UCLA, they won that game, they had a bye week, and they went out to Penn State, and that's what they look like. And they look like that the next two games after.
I was going to say, they looked like that the last three games. They all looked, the last three games looked the same, where they have like a nice drive early, and then you get beyond anything scripted and everything falls apart.
Because your offensive coordinator can't coach in this conference. He can't coach apparently in the new Big 12 either. Like, teams adjust.
Maybe he just can't coach anymore in this era of college football.
Like, I don't know, other than the sort of Dillon rallies in Northwestern and Michigan State and Maryland, Nebraska's second half offense was largely pretty bad all year, right? I mean, they tended to be much better at the beginning of a game than they were at the end of the game, unless it was literally the last drive, in which they were weirdly very good at.
Yeah.
So it's it's a strange team to try to figure out. And the other thing is, do you have any idea what they're trying to do throughout the course of a game? Like, you watch one game, and I don't know how much of Utah you guys watched. I remember early in the season, they absolutely put it on UCLA. I was watching that game. I think I watched them play Cincinnati for a little bit before I realized, like, this is Brendan Sorsby isn't going to have a day here. I can turn this one off. Mm-hmm. Otherwise I haven't watched a ton of Utah. And so yesterday and you could see very quickly, it's like, okay, we are going to zone read them. And when they think this, we're going to do that. We're going to hit them up the middle. When they think we're going outside, we're going to go outside. When they think we're going up the middle, and we're going to run off of play action, and we can take shots down the field because we're getting one-on-one coverage. Like, they had everything at their disposal because Nebraska couldn't take anything away. And then I think about it from the Nebraska end of it. What is it over the last three games that TJ Lateef was being asked to do, two of which had Emmett Johnson? Like, what was Nebraska attempting to do to other defenses? Like, how are you stressing these defenses? I don't know. And maybe it's as simple as TJ Lateef couldn't throw some of the routes. I don't know. There's always an excuse. There's never just like maybe we're just not good enough. The one time that came up was when Matt Rhule basically said that they had a horrible game plan for Minnesota, which was also apparent if you watched any of that game against Minnesota. But again, it all comes back to, I can't believe, and I'm guilty of it too, and I was guilty of it leading into this year, the amount of ink and the amount of words spilled about what Dana Holgorsen was going to mean to this team. And they are the exact same god-awful offense as they've been the last 2 years. And there's nothing that looks like you can hang your hat on for next year with this offense. We can talk about more mobility for the quarterbacks. We can talk about better offensive line up front and better pass protection. One, we don't know if Nebraska can implement any of these things. Two, I'm not convinced that Dana Holgorsen can call a game plan in 2026 that's going to be any better than what we've seen in 24 and 25.
Yeah. What is there? And it's unbelievable how these Utah, Iowa, Penn State, Michigan, at least those four, and maybe I'm forgetting others. You're right. They followed the exact same pattern where the offense looks gangbusters for the first one or two drives, all of those games, and then falls off a cliff after that, basically. And then gets late touchdowns, essentially. USC was kind of like that too, a little bit. Like every single, and I was shocked again. I will never understand that, and I get it. Well, it's a scripted play. How in the crap does that always work at the beginning like it does? other than the Minnesota game, that every time in every single one of those games, that offense looked freaking great out the gates. 2 drives against Utah. I was like, what am I seeing?
Yeah.
What
Jack,
Nelson?
the funny thing too, real fast, is at the Penn State game unfolds and they get stopped, and same with Michigan, and you're like, maybe it's because they got stopped that sucked some of the life out of them, or the wind was out of their sails.
Points, yeah.
But they did get points yesterday, twice, as you mentioned. They scored 2 touchdowns, and yet the same thing still happened.
Yeah, I guess
the misdirection play.
Yeah.
The misdirection pass play to Mekhi Nelson, where Latif almost threw it away, but Nelson made a nice adjustment along the sidelines.
Yes.
Great play.
Yeah.
The Ja'Cory Barney touchdown. Great play. Like
where was that play all year?
Some of these been? The Nelson one, I think, was the same that they've run on an Emmett Johnson touchdown.
Yeah, UCLA. They did play that against UCLA.
And so, like, we've maybe seen that before, but it's just, again, it feels like Dana Holgorsen lacks the creativity that other offensive coordinators around the country, and maybe some of it is that he's just not current with college football. I don't know. Josh would know better than I. He watches tons of games, but Nebraska's offense doesn't feel like they have anything to it that they're using to purposely stretch a defense, aside from just sort of moving forward in that fashion.
Yeah, I mean, essentially the question that I would always ask is like, is the play caller on either side of the ball like raising the level where the sum is better than the individual parts, And like you mentioned 2023 a little bit earlier, Schaefer, and like how the safeties played that season. I mean, that was a defense where the sum was much better than the individual parts. We're not really seeing that on the offensive side of the ball right now. We're not seeing him raise the level of everybody. And when he struggles early on, you think, okay, look, he just got dropped into this situation in November of 2024. It makes sense that things aren't going to be perfect. But I did think that a full offseason, that it was going to mean much different things for this year. And I guess you look back at the end of his time as a head coach, and his offenses were taking a bit of a step back. But, I just chalked that stuff up to that happens, right? Sometimes good coordinators are not really good coaches, head coaches. And the sport had evolved and changed. And so maybe I just started avoiding things that I shouldn't have. His red zone offenses took a step back in his later years at Houston and at West Virginia. They were like, that was his calling card early on. Like there was one year.
Oh, they were horrible this year.
Yeah, and they were terrible this year. And so they were terrible in short yardage. I mean, you said it to start up the whole pod, your disagreement with the decision. And yet, who knows if they even convert it, because they were so bad at short yardage plays. But all of that to say this, the problems that this year had on offense, I think were predictable if you're just looking at late stage Dana Holgorsen. Like maybe this shouldn't have been as big of a surprise to us as it was.
Yeah, well, I think some of it, maybe we should have had more of a pause when he said that he wasn't interested in doing the stuff that like he kind of built his reputation on.
Sure.
So then it's like, okay, what are you? Like, what is this going to be? And I keep saying this, and I don't want to be some sort of Big Ten honk here, but there is such a difference of coaching in the AAC or even in the Big 12, though Utah, I think, would fit right in as a Big 10 team. And how defenses sort of can take things away from you in this conference. And so we saw Scott Frost have issues with it because you have smaller, twitchier players in those other conferences. In the Big 10, you don't have that. You got to be able to meet with some power. And I'm fascinated. Like, are they going to reinvent the wheel here? Or are they just going to trot out the same shit with a different quarterback and a different running back and looks like different wide receivers and, maybe some of the same offensive linemen? Like, I am unsure what the exact plan is going to be on offense. And then you have to go get the players to fit this. Like you don't have anything homegrown at some of these primary positions. So you've got to then get the players, mold them to the offense, have the offense go be successful. It feels like it's a lot of hoping and wishing is sort of where I'm at here. And then again, it's January 1, the 2025 just ended in 2 different capacities. Literally the football season ended and the year ended, and it's the first day of the new year for each. And I'm already over here just completely and utterly unsure how this is going to work offensively. Like I don't see they would have to hit in a super unique way, or he would have to completely reinvent himself at this point for Nebraska's offense to be significantly better next season.
Yeah. Put yourself in rules. What's happened has happened. Okay. let's not go back and say this should have happened, but you're in Rhule's desk this morning, right? Like, it is what it is at this point. Where do you even start now?
I fire Dana Holgorsen and I go get a different offensive coordinator that has some sort of, like whatever it is that he wants to do offensively, go hire that. And you're not going to, like, what do you have left to lose if you move on from Dana Holgorsen right now? Are you going to lose some players? You're already going to lose some players. Like I was stunned when we were getting through the first couple weeks of December and there was no talk about Holgorsen being moved on from or Nebraska doing something different.
People love names. People
wasn't part of that, Schaefer, that there was
positions.
Maybe like there was a little bit of hope that he was going to get a job and he was going to leave and they wouldn't have to fire him?
He's compensated enough. You can just move on. You don't have, like, I've heard this from this staff before, and Matt Rhule has even said it. Like, he likes his coaches to find their own opportunities before he does, okay, that's great. What happens if no one hires them? Then what are you going to do? Then it's on you. And here we are. And we've got 18 games of evidence or whatever it is, 17 games of evidence. Do you think this is going to work for 2025 or 2026? Mm-hmm. And if Matt Rhule says yes, okay, great, go forward with it. But I mean, there just has to be some seismic changes, I think, for this to be a successful offensive endeavor, let alone go out and get those players. So, again, if it was me and I had carte blanche and I was Matt Rhule today, I'm finding some sort of offensive coordinator that runs whatever it is I want to run. Because the other thing is, has it ever felt like the Matt Rhule, Dana Holgorsen thing is in lockstep of what they want to do as a program?
No.
Okay,
It seems antithetical to what you would figure he would want to do on offense, given also what he wants to do on defense.
Well, considering he is such a control freak and he wants his fingers on every aspect of everything that's ever happened.
Sure.
And then the idea is we're going to go hire an offensive coordinator that's going to be the offensive head coach, which is effectively what they told and sold everybody on in 2024. And then all he does is just change out one wide receiver coach in the first year. And we're all just kind of looking around like, okay, like this is what it's going to be. And then it looks the exact same. I don't know. I don't think Matt Rhule knows. Like, that's the other thing that's scary. I don't think the head coach today on January 1 could tell you with any certainty what kind of offense Nebraska is going to be in 2026. And that is a problem with the portal opening tomorrow.
All right, so let me ask you guys this, because I feel like we're not purposely dancing around like the discussion that people are having, but in a way, like this is all just circling that one important question, and that is like level of trust, belief in where this thing is going right now. I said something yesterday that, to me, I think that it is obvious where this is headed, but there is really nothing to be done because of the contract extension. And that is also, I do want to say this. I am not advocating for him to be fired or anything like that. I'm very much recognizing a lot of similar signs to the ones that I've seen over the last few years. And I am now looking at 2026 and all of the questions we have and wondering if it's just going to be kind of status quo in terms of win-loss record. They're going to hang out in the same universe for a little bit of time, and that this is ultimately going to end in a parting of ways X amount of years down the road. Like, that is the question, right, in terms of belief level. Do any of us believe in where this thing is going right now? Jack, like, do you as you talk about, like, you do not want to hop on and be super negative. You are always looking for the optimistic side of things. And, like, I feel like it's like when you've lost Jack Mitchell, you pretty much lost them all.
I can't find anything. That's the problem. Like, where do you put, I would love for someone to convince me that I'm missing something that's out there to come into next season with optimism about any single part of it. I guess, if you really want to push me, I'm hoping that the changes in staff that he made for this year already are going to be beneficial. I don't see anything about personnel. I suppose, if they start hitting some transfers that I'm excited about, that could move me up a notch or two, but nothing that is going to say to really invest optimism in at this point. Like, there's no, I can't squint and make that happen because I don't know what it is. Yeah. It's kind of a lottery ticket, basically. It's essentially hoping, they finally made the change. And here's the crazy thing, like, outside of Holgorsen, in terms of making changes on the staff, like, he did it, right? He did it coming into this year.
Offensive line coach gone, defensive coordinator gone.
I mean, I suppose you could have some others, but it's not like I'm sitting here thinking, well, you've really got to clear house and you got to have Barthel out and you've got to have, Dvorak out. And I mean, I don't think that's it either, even though they might be, but like there's not that many outside of the Holgorsen thing that Mike brought up. There's no move like that where I'm like, yeah, that'll help. That'll make a difference at this point. There's not any personnel situation where I'm like, if they bring in the guy here at this position, that's going to make a huge difference, right? I suppose if you found a quarterback that matched with an offensive coordinator, that would be the biggest thing. Other than that, I don't know where to put it because there's just usually for me, it's like you look at the future of players and you say, all right, because coming into this year, that's how I felt about a whole bunch of players. And it's almost all the guys I listed. There's just such a huge group of players that I expected, and I've seen before in this program, go from here to here in 1 year to the next, especially along the defensive line. Good. If there was one thing I could say confidently coming into this year is like this staff, Rhule, whomever on the defensive coaching staff, have made these defensive line guys, have developed them in a way that the previous staff did not. From Nash to obviously to Robinson. And we had started to see it, I think, with Keona Davis to Van Poppel. You had seen it. And there, not only along the defensive line, but there are 10 players I could name that didn't take the jump I expected them from last year to this year. You can Shavers, Barney, you name it. There's tons of them that just did not take that jump. McGahee, heck, coming into the season, expected that. And so it's hard to have faith in that anymore. And if those guys are there, I don't know who they are. I guess maybe some of the deeper wide receivers, maybe Carter Nelson because he's healthy now. Again, I'm squinting a little bit, but like I am really curious. And if it's just trust in Matt Rhule at this point, I'm not sure where people are getting that from, right? Other than you continue to you like how he sounds and how he's running things and the culture part of it,
embracing the program, embracing Nebraska,
that sort of thing, which I like about him, right? Which I like about him too. I think he's done so many of those things. Like I was that place with him, and those things went a long way for me.
Hey, Shape, real quick. Shape, before you answer, I did want to read this from Matt. I think it's a great comment. He says, if Rhule fails, it'll be because he failed miserably at what he thought he was good at, development. He wanted to develop coaches, huge failure. He wanted to develop players, thus far, huge failure. Like it is, like that was the thing, and that is the scary part because Husker for MU added a moment later that it's essentially they're going to be, where's it at? What do you sell transfers about Nebraska? It's just money, and that's scary. Like they're trying to do it now in a way that was not the game plan a few years ago.
Yeah, well, that's why when I was on your radio show, when I wrote what I did to start at Husker Max, I mean, the biggest thing for me is you're now 3 years in and like, what have you built? Like, what is this? What are you hanging your hat on? And it's no longer defense. It's no longer defensive line. We can make all the jokes we want about the backwards hat. None of it matters. So what, and to just kind of going off of what Jack said, like, what is it that you look at with this team and you think, okay, well, they've got to fix this and they got to fix that, but I feel good about this. And when you say, like, you can't say special teams, nobody really has an answer, and part of it when we look forward is, okay, all right, well, they'll have their opportunity to try to bring in some different people in the portal, and we'll see what that does for them. Then you go back and you look at 23 and at 24 and at 25.
Right.
And you go look at their portal additions. Is Sierra Wright their best player to come out of the portal?
I would say by far. And
then it's maybe 1 year of Isaiah Hunter, which is still worse than 1 year of Samari Toure and 1 year of Trey Palmer.
Ben Scott
was good. Ben Scott was good.
Started. Yeah. Started.
Yep. Rocco Spindler was a nice addition.
Sure.
But that's what we're talking about. So, like, when is Nebraska going to go find their Kenneth Walker? When is Nebraska going to go get a defensive player? Like, Oh my God, how much did we hear about Deshaun McCullough and versatility of Deshaun McCullough and explosiveness of Deshaun McCullough? Should we go look at Deshaun McCullough's stats? Like that's your best defensive player that you added. And I get Winery is someone down like part of if I'm bullish
and he's been
on Nebraska,
a big positive surprise. Winery has.
If I'm bullish on Nebraska, it would start with a new defensive line coach that, they haven't hired anybody for that as far as I understand, right? Like they don't have their defensive line coach. They have their edge coach.
Yeah.
But, they didn't end up with Elijah Robinson, which I didn't think they were ever going to get despite wherever that was going. He's had multiple times to join this staff and it hasn't happened. So there's something, I don't know if he wants to work for Matt Rhule again. I'll just put that out there. But, so we'll see what they end up with that defensive line, but maybe a different voice. It sounds like the Terry Braden thing, it didn't go very well.
Yeah,
obviously got moved on from in 1 year, but it just sounds like it didn't go well from either perspective of it. So maybe you've got all this talent. Like I believe in these guys. Like I believe in Williams Winery and I believe in Riley Van Poppel. And I believe that, guys like Tyson Terry and Malcolm Simpson and Cade Petchock and Cameron Lenhart. And there's someone whose name I can't come up with here. Keona Davis. But you have to also keep all of them. Like that's the other thing. I don't know who's going to go into the portal out of that group. But if you can keep that group together and you get a different voice, maybe they can take off from that point. We've seen defensive linemen take a while to develop here. It's not a very easy one-to-one, development thing. But that's sort of what you're hanging your hat on. Everything behind them defensively, I don't feel good about at all. And then offensively is just a giant question mark. And I don't like the architect of the offense. So naturally, I'm not going to feel good about any of that. So, again, like I don't want to sit here and tell people 2026 is lost because I don't know how it's going to play out. But I do want to caution people like, hey, there are way, way more questions than obvious answers right now for Nebraska football. And that should never be the case for a coach who's going into his fourth season. Like that's the part that's kind of like, well, what the hell did we do for 3 years?
Yeah.
And what is it that you were built? You're a development program, but none of the players that you were apparently developing are ready to play. You're a development program, but you have holes all over the roster. You're a development program, but you keep seeing the guys that you bring in leave and go have success elsewhere. I mean, did anybody see what Jeff Sims did yesterday? The biggest joke of a quarterback in 2023, but then he goes to a different program with an offensive coordinator and a head coach that can put him in position to go have a monster day in a bowl game. He had more yards in that game than it felt like he had in the entirety of the 2023 season. Would anyone be surprised if Dylan Raiola goes and just has a monster year somewhere else next year? Prince Will Uman-Mielen goes to Ole Miss.
Gosh,
He's one of the most disruptive players in the country.
Watching him get after Tulane last week, and let's see what happens tonight, too. It's so depressing.
If you want another reason to just cry into your pillow at night while you think about Nebraska football, think about how when people leave here, they seem to get a lot better, and when people come here, they seem to either play about average or worse.
Yeah.
How about this? Borkature.
Yeah, Borkature. God, he's been making plays all year for Texas A&M.
He kept Notre Dame out of the playoff all by himself.
He did. How about this comment? This is from Sam, and he said this yesterday, and I think all three of us, I don't have any of the receipts on this, but I have to imagine when Rhule was hired at the end of the 2022 calendar year, we looked at his NFL lack of success and said, no big deal. It's the NFL, like he's a college football coach. But Sam had a great point yesterday when he said Matt Rhule was below average to bad at being an NFL coach. College football is becoming more and more like that level by the minute. And, it's funny. Like I as always, I'm looking back at previous opinions that I had, or maybe where was I right and where was I wrong? And I do wonder if in hindsight, if that was like such an obvious glaring red light about everything. Yeah, he struggled in the pros. College football is now like the pros, like maybe this was even more predictable than it should have been, 3 years into his tenure.
Did he, I wish I had paid attention now more to that whole Carolina thing, because I don't really know. It's almost like he kind of came back here and it felt like he could do more of the, I don't know, the college culture building, everything. Yeah. Did he, this is a legitimate question. Was he doing that in the NFL to some degree? Was he like the Matt Rhule that we know him as a Nebraska coach, as the Carolina coach?
I think that he's largely the same guy where he's been for for the most part. Just you go back and you watch stuff from Baylor, even some of the like stuff you would find from Carolina. Like he talks the same way. I think he's someone who really believes internally and then, espouses externally to try to have everybody else in that same belief. And I think, successful people have to have really high self-confidence. And so it's not a surprise to me. Some of the issues he ran into at Carolina, though, it's a professional operation with a whole business side of things. Like there was stuff that he would want to do. Like he would want to control content.
Right. That's what I mean.
And he was endlessly in a fight with like Panthers.com because it's like, hey man, this is my job. Like you go coach the football team that's going 3-14 right now. I'll make the videos. Don't tell me what to do.
Right. The
like,
thought that he could do that in college.
He was having fights with business side people with the Panthers organization. Now, I have a tough time with the Panthers stuff because, Jack, you're not an NFL guy, and I don't know how many fantasy players you had from the Panthers for the last 5-6 years. That's a train wreck of an organization. They might make the playoffs this year.
And his first year was COVID.
Yeah.
And culture guy didn't get to develop culture because they were doing Zooms all the time.
So basically, like, it's hard for me to really say that like Matt Rhule failed the Panthers when it feels more like it was a mutual, or even Gettleman and the Panthers are just garbage. I mean, Frank Reich had issues there. The amount of quarterbacks that were one stopped at the Panthers that are now starters in the NFL.
I mean, it really did take until this year where it was like, oh, wow, finally under this owner, they seem competent. It took until now.
And it also took a historically bad division to get to that point too. But I wonder, someone said this, I wish I knew who I could give credit to, and I hadn't thought about it in this way, but did Matt Rhule come back to Nebraska in 2022 thinking college football was the same as when he left in 2019? Because there's a huge difference in college football from when he left after the Sugar Bowl to when he arrived after Nebraska last beat Iowa in 2022. Massive. And was he prepared for how college football had changed? Did he put a staff together thinking it was the previous college football and not the new version of college football? Has he been too slow to make those changes? And then to the NFL point that Josh was making, part of what I thought Nebraska was getting was a guy, because he had coached in the NFL, would seamlessly fit into the Big Ten, which is, again, I think most similar to the NFL in terms of coaching and the style and the way games are always close and et cetera, et cetera. And I thought you would get someone who was like prepared and equipped to handle that. And it doesn't feel like that has helped at all. I mean, his in-game coaching, I think, has always been sort of a question about him.
Massive.
But he's always been regarded as a program builder. And so you're now in year 4, and I just keep saying this, but like, for a program builder, like what has been built? That's why I had the tweet about the culture yesterday. Like, we can talk until we're blue in the face about culture, but to me, having a good culture isn't having a bunch of mistakes on the field and getting run off the football field 3 straight games in a row, especially when you started the game competitively.
Well, and I think Schaefer too, like I think that's why, and I know a lot of folks are like, stop talking about the backwards hat stuff. But it seems like a man trying to will something into existence. That's, I think, why Jack is shaking his head, so he obviously is agreeing with me here. I think those of us who are like, this is ridiculous, are just viewing it as he really wants to convince himself that being Coach Matt instead of Coach Rhule, that being more chill or whatever it is, like, that is what this program is missing right now. And it's not, like, it isn't that. That is a gimmick. It is a gimmick that, and then he didn't have it on at the press conference. And so I imagine that thing is now going to be in the past because it didn't result in anything positive happening. And so he seems like a guy that is working his ass off to convince himself that things are not where they are. And which is maybe why he had the reaction he did to that question a couple weeks ago, talking about, no, it's not a reset, it's tweaking. It's like, what? This isn't a tweak. How many big moves have they made already this offseason, and how many more are perhaps still to come? I mean, certainly if Schaefer got his wish, there'd be a huge one that would still be on its way over the course of the next however many days or weeks.
I guess at this point, it would surprise me that you wouldn't just embrace the idea of like, hey, we do have to reset. Like, what we're doing has worked to this point, but we want to, like, if you framed it that way, if Matt Rhule came out in the offseason right away and he said, hey, we've got to do something different. Like, this needs to look different. What we're doing hasn't gone how I want. And so we have to change this up. This can't be where we're at. People would eat that up. The acknowledgement of like, hey, and when sports writers write it on their behalf, which is sort of what happens sometimes, it feels more hollow. But if Matt Rhule came out and basically said, hey, guys, after 3 years, this isn't anywhere where I need it to be. We have to do things differently. When he said he'll do whatever it takes for Nebraska to win, that made people feel good. That was the quote that led to firing, not firing, but moving Marcus Satterfield from offensive coordinator to tight ends coach and bringing in Dana Holgorsen. That made you think, okay, this is a guy who wants to win as badly as I do. And I think he absolutely wants to win as badly as you do. But right now, I think he's trying to navigate this PR thing. Instead of just embracing like, hey, we're not what we want to be. He's like, no. We're just a few moves away. And I don't think anyone's buying it.
That's the one thing he's always been willing to do is make those changes at coach, at assistant coach.
Have to own it.
He's always been willing. He's been more, he's been
certainly more willing, Jack, than previous coaches, right?
He's been, incredibly willing to do that. And
anyone
that hasn't
specifically
been
you're thinking about there, Josh?
What? And but that hasn't been the key to it. And so what's the next step, right? What is the next step of saying, okay, what I'm doing this way is not working. What else because that's right now, that's the way that he's tried to achieve the change, right? Is to shuffle the staff and change out the staff, basically. What's next beyond that, right? I guess you can keep doing that and hope you eventually hit. And that's in part what he's already done this year. But I think what you're saying, Mike, and I agree, is that he's almost got to come and say, look, it's a little bit too about, what I'm doing here, right? And I mean, I think there are certain things he could say that some of us would appreciate if he kind of said, it's just, you can't talk about it because it's all about it's all the periphery stuff. It's the messaging. It's the PR. It's the insistence on PR. It's these narratives. It's the Red Moon. It's the documentary. It's the podcast. It's everything.
The way his contract announcement is rolled out.
That's almost, all of that. It's all of those things, but you don't really talk about those things. Those are not, how do you even ask about that, right? Without that being, I mean, you could, but how do you even say that in a way? But listen, we all see it. We all absolutely see it. And that stuff looks worse and worse and worse when the success doesn't come. Because it's about PR. And there's nothing wrong with PR in general. I find myself being a lot like he is. When you were talking about doing the backwards hat thing for a while and trying to create a new persona or whatever, that sounds like something I would do. So I totally get it. I'm trying to will something.
Afternoon, Jack.
Yes, I do stupid crap like that because I think it can work. People get into it. I completely understand that, but it doesn't. If it doesn't take and doesn't go with wins, it not only didn't work. It looks really bad. It looks goofy. People make fun of it, all of those sorts of things. And then to bounce around from sort of the different focus on the way that you're putting out the PR, again, from the Chasing 3 to the podcast, to controlling the messages, to having just all of these little things, it is hard not to see that and look like that is the focus on that could be taking away somehow from the things that are really important. And I don't know if that's true or not, but at this point, that is the first thing that seems like the thing that you come out and sort of change, right? And just sort of step back from that and get to the meat of everything rather than the window dressing. That's what it feels like.
Noticed in the Discord, this comment's coming up a couple times from Matt, I believe, and I want to push back on it. He's saying that when Matt Rhule got here, there was no recruiting operation. Nebraska just finished with the number 113 recruiting class in the country. They moved on from Vincent Ginta, who had been with Nebraska for previous staff, and then for the first couple of years with Matt Rhule, and then went to the 113th class in the country with 9 total signees. Their recruiting operation has been part of the problem here. They don't have a lot of structure. They don't have a lot of organization. I've talked to parents who don't know what they're doing when they're coming in on a visit. They haven't been given an itinerary, or an explanation as to what you're going to do. they sort of create these buzzy events, but then they didn't really have a plan for when they had all those guys there with Dylan Raiola, and they went to the baseball game and they did that other stuff. Like, some of it is you want to create and do all of this, but you don't have any organization on the back end. Like, it's not going to go well. So I certainly don't believe, like, you can talk about nutrition and strength and conditioning, and I really like Corey Campbell, but can any of us say that we feel like Nebraska from a strength and conditioning standpoint is significantly better 4 years in right now?
I mean, that goes back to the first convo we had at the start of the pod, right? About what's going on with the November and December stuff.
And then, the nutrition, I think all of this stuff is great. And part of the struggle that I have is Nebraska has literally everything you need to be successful as a football coach at your fingertips. And he has a very supportive administration. This isn't like he has to fight to get what he wants. And so you have all of this. And so you run out of the excuses. Like, at some point it has to be, I am not doing what I need to do well enough, or the people that I am empowering are not successful enough. And this has to change. And I think if you adopted that messaging this offseason, I think people would be a lot more positive about it right now. But when you're adopting the backwards hat, when you're adopting the, hey, it's not a reset, when you're, trying to tell people that it's sometimes the players have to go you have to go get the players, and then you have to put them in position to be successful, so that when Rex Guthrie is out there for 9 games this season, it doesn't feel like it's always the first time he's ever had to fill a run fit in his life. Like, that's someone that they're really excited about. But I can't tell you right now today, would you feel good if he's one of your starting safeties in game 1 in 2026 right now with what you saw from him?
No.
By the way, Matt said in the chat, he said that's what Rhule had said, that he wasn't saying that, number one.
Yeah, that's complete bullshit. And here's how I know it's bullshit. Your best players so far have been holdovers. So the recruiting operation could have been that bad if it's brought in players that have been better than what you have done so far through your multiple recruiting classes. The concern I have, to a degree, also is they have brought in, I don't know what the number was, but it's more than 80 guys on scholarship. And if you go look at high school guys and players that they've signed, and if you go look at the depth chart, it's a lot of portal people and holdovers that are their starters. Like, they haven't evaluated at a high enough level. And that was something you thought you were supposed to be getting with Matt Rhule because of how successful those Baylor teams were. Then how many of their guys ended up in the NFL? And that hasn't translated at Nebraska. And they're not going to put a lot of guys in the NFL this upcoming year either.
Let me say this. Here's what I'd like to have Rhule lean into, you in his desk right now, because there are things that, if you were excited when he got here, you weren't excited, right, about him running a great PR operation, those sorts of things, but you were excited about a few things. His teams always have always had good defenses, really solid defenses. Yep. He's been really good with defensive line development over the years, and that showed for the first 2 years, I think. And I don't know,
year one.
I mean, I think that really showed. And like, he also has, I think deep down in him, he's sort of got, Mike, you talk about Big Ten coaching. I think deep down in him, he wants to be that Big Ten style team.
So embrace it.
That's who he was. Oh, he talked about the weather and cold games, and I think he likes that.
That they were going to win in the fourth quarter, and they were going to grind teams out, and all of these things that have never happened.
I think deep down, that's truly what he likes and wants in the type of coach he is.
Why did you go hire Dana Holgorsen as your offensive
Because
coordinator?
everybody wants names. With Satterfield, because he reacts to what he's hearing. And all people heard in this Discord and everywhere is they hated Satterfield. They didn't like it. Look, you got to have a name. You got to have a name. I'm not defending Satterfield, but people are so freaking obsessed with having a name they recognize. People loved Holgorsen. I'm sure everybody loved it. Everybody loved the idea. Why? Because they knew the name. Nebraska was hiring a name. That's what, there's so much pressure on that when it comes to coordinators that I'm sure there was a bunch of reaction to that. We've seen it in how he coaches games. He immediately reacts almost to the whims of the wind sometimes. Stick to who you were with this whole thing. You want a boring ass Big Ten run the ball offensive coordinator? Find him. That's what you want. Do it.
Or, go find a power spread offensive coordinator.
But guess what? Dana Holgorsen made better headlines, made all of those things. And I understand why he thought it would work, but that's not, he's going away from what I think he truly wants and is, which is a a fairly
ball control, turnover reverse,
defense-centric team. That is who he is and what he wants and what he's best at. Do it. It is the backwards hat thing to some degree, but do it without the backwards hat.
Yeah, and
right?
isn't that funny though, Jack? I don't think you're wrong in what you're saying there, but then the defense just fell off a cliff at the end of the year too. So even if he wanted to go with that type of offense,
investment in it.
Yeah, for sure. And you talked about that at the start of the pod today.
It got Dylan Raiola. And again, I wanted Dylan Raiola too, but that's not what Matt Rhule is building on. He's not building on that.
Well, to play devil's advocate or at least defend how Dana Holgorsen ends up here, Matt Rhule acknowledged that his offenses largely everywhere he's been have not been very good. So he was doing something that is not him and giving away that chunk of the team to someone that he trusted could just run things. So then he could focus on everything else, whatever that is, make some jokes here and there. And so that's part of why they went and got a name, because he wanted someone that he could just entrust to go be this guy.
It still felt like more what he wanted here when Heinrich Harburg was the quarterback to me. That felt like it was more complimentary than what they ever got with Holgorsen and Raiola.
Yeah. But I'm not disputing what you're saying, and I agree with you. I don't think Dana Holgorsen should be back, and I think they should go get something. You hit on something that always makes me laugh because I agree wholeheartedly. And it's also why Nebraska is never the place that's going to hire Kurt Cignetti. People around here want someone they've heard of.
Yes.
Or they want someone that's connected to the program. They never want door number 3, which is someone they've never heard of before.
Who's this guy?
Well, hey, haven't we seen a little bit of that with Rob Orich? I think you look at a lot of his numbers and what he's done so far. I'm very intrigued by what his defense could turn into. But I'll immediately say, what was
maybe the most excited.
Yeah, he did it at the lower level. He can't do it in the Big Ten. He doesn't have Big Ten ties.
He's obsessed with making the 92 dream team of assistant coaches. That's what this fan base wants more than anything. Ed Orgeron, a defensive line, right?
Jason Peters, Grant Windstrom.
It's not.
It is a hodgepodge of the glory days.
And I swear sometimes
defensive line coach.
He's reactive. He's reactive to the whims of what people want. And and listen, the one thing people want around here is assistant coaches changed out. What's the one thing he's done? Changed out assistant coaches. He's done it. That's what you all want. You guys want it every year. Change out those assistant coaches. Get a big name in there. Well, guess what? They did it. Happy?
No, hell, D'Lo points out people hated Tony White at the time he was hired. Who cares? Once it worked, everyone came around. Yeah, what was the reaction to him? Oh, he can't do this. 3-3-5, Big Ten, Syracuse, not going to work. And then that team,
it wasn't Tony White. It was a 3-3-5, right? People were like, this defense can't work in the Big Ten.
Yeah, it was probably a little column A, column B. Yeah. And then it did. What was the best defense? What is the best facet of Nebraska football in the 3 years so far? It was the 2023 defense. And I think with a bullet, by far, that was the best unit they've had.
It also helps that you had guys on that team that made plays.
And they could tackle.
The biggest thing with this year's defense is nobody nobody would go get a football and make an interception. Sierra Wright was great. He finished the year with no interceptions, right?
Yeah.
He didn't have a single interception.
Correct.
Yeah. He had a couple last year, so obviously we know he can do it.
Yeah, he scored a touchdown last year.
Yeah, so you gotta be able to take the ball away. This sounds insane because he wasn't their best player, but losing John Butler, you felt that in every aspect of Nebraska's defense this year. That guy was everywhere on the field for Nebraska in 23 and 24 when he was playing and making plays over and over and over, and you just didn't have anybody that at all.
You said John Butler.
John Butler, yeah. Oh. Or not John Butler, John Bullock. I don't know.
I was like, John Butler.
Was he playing?
John Bullock.
Josh Bullock. John Bullock.
No.
Got to be your bull.
Lord.
It's got to be your.
Be your Bullock.
Even a guy that, he had a big 23 and a so-so 24, but he still generally was in position to make plays or could make plays. Isaac Gifford, you have, they just couldn't replace these. Omar Brown, some of them are just steady veterans, and they just haven't been able to replace some of these guys with other steady veterans or people that make plays.
Singleton yesterday,
Yeah, he was. They really missed him. But we we've known. I mean, this is a team that when their safeties aren't very good, Nebraska is a bad defense. That's true regardless of who the coach is. Bo Pelini was a huge believer in that. One of the random off to the side conversations we ever had is a story I did on why he loves safety so much. And he just he really believes the best version of any defense has to have an elite safety. And we'll see. They got to go into the portal because what they're bringing back, I don't think is good enough. So we'll see if they can go get a safety out of the portal.
Javen Wright might have been the best player on the defense this year, right? In terms of veterans, but in terms of just that's the thing. It's what you said, Mike. It's the guys who it was no one taking a young guy taking a big jump, right? It was these veterans. To the degree that they had guys who were consistent and difference makers, it was the Singletons and the Javen Wrights and Sierra Wrights. I don't know, man.
Shafe, let me ask you this as we're getting ready to start winding down. You mentioned what you did earlier about recruiting, which I didn't realize that things had been that unorganized in-house.
Not all the time, but for certain events, especially early on. And part of it is they don't have a flow chart. You don't really know. I know this from talking to some recruits' parents as well, and recruits themselves. You don't always know who it is that you're supposed to talk to over there for different stuff. So, I don't think that's gotten a lot better. But
does that give you pause for how they are attacking the portal now over the course of this next month?
No, because I think they've shown they have plans with the portal. Part of the issue last year is they just didn't have the money and they weren't willing to spend like other people who spent when they didn't have the money, but they didn't care. They'd figure it out later. I mean, Matt Rhule talked about that in the spring, and it was generally from a tone of hey, we didn't do this because we didn't know that we could. And so maybe that's why we don't have everything that everybody else does. And I think they have had decent plans for what they want to do. I mean, you go back to the quarterback thing. They sent Satterfield on a world tour to go get a quarterback. They have Kyle McCord in their office until Raiola flips. They have certainly had plans for portal. The issue with the recruiting to me is I don't understand how you get into May and you only had 3 people committed this year. You kept telling everyone it was going to be a small class, but okay, fine. Does that mean you're just going to go get 30 guys out of the portal? What does this actually mean? And so, I just don't know that they know what kind of program they want to be. And you're 4 years in, and I think that's a scary spot to be. So if you're going to be a portal-heavy program, great. Go be a portal-heavy program. Maximize what you're recruiting and go get the best guys that you can get. Keep small high school classes, churn and burn through the portal, etc. If you're going to be a development program, be a development program. But then you have to show the proof of that at some point. There has to be positions where you don't have to go into the portal because you have so many players. You're actually losing people. And I don't think they have a position like that on their roster. So it's, the recruiting operation, the concern there is you can't line it in any one direction if you yourself don't know what you are. And if you're going to be the kind of program that only needs to take a couple players out of the portal, which is what I think they want to be, then you have to be a lot better in terms of the development on the back end. These guys have to be able to play for you, and they have to be quality Big Ten players. And too many people taken early in the recruiting for Nebraska were reclamation projects and lottery tickets that just haven't hit.
Yep.
And you get nothing to show for it. So they spend 2 years in your program, and then they go into the portal and they transfer to Prairie View A&M. And you've got to go get somebody else. And then you end up with Gabe Moore and Jalen George and, these guys that didn't do anything for you on your defensive line instead of an actual nose tackle. And you knew going into the year, hey, we got to get somebody that can fill the middle of this defensive line. And instead it was a whole lot of, Elijah Judy's a bit of a wild card. He's in his 3rd year with us. This is what we've got. Mm-hmm. They know what they were, and they knew where their shortcomings were, and they couldn't figure it out. So all of that is a long-winded way to say, they're going to have to play the portal perfectly, but we don't have evidence that they can do that.
Guys, one thing I want to hit on that we haven't hit on yet, there's a part of me when Dylan went down against USC, and then especially after the UCLA game, that thought, okay, there's a chance we are going to see, and this goes back to the Holgorsen conversation, but there's going to chance that we're going to see TJ Lateef, and we're going to say, all right, there's the optimism coming into next year is, kind of like what he can be. And that, again, it goes into the Holgorsen conversation. But again, you saw a little in the UCLA game, but you didn't even really see like those little moments, right? That you thought might say, I see it, right? All of the things that I think everyone who wanted to change earlier in the season had envisioned, they just didn't come, other than a little bit in the UCLA game. They weren't there at all. Like,
and so now unequivocally they're going to have to bring in,
like, there was no,
I mean, for sure, multiple quarterbacks, but a starter.
There was a hope, there was a hope still coming into the game yesterday that you were going to, okay, he's healthy now.
You got 4 weeks to put this together. What is the offense?
He's healthy now. Like, I'm really interested. Yeah, he's practiced he's had some time in the program. Like, I'm really excited to see like what TJ Lateef is. And is anyone even talking about what you saw from him?
Yeah, Jim and O'Neill with an interesting comment. The best part of the last 4 games is being able to say TJ ain't it. Yeah, maybe there is some positivity, Jack, in it not really being a question now moving forward into the offseason.
Right, like that.
I think that question's kind of an answer.
A clear solution, but I think internally they already knew that was the case.
Yes.
I mean, like the way that Holgorsen spoke of it and everything else. But again, do you have your offense set in such a way that like you've got to go get a quarterback? And do either of you, if it came out tomorrow that Nebraska wasn't going to go get a running back in the portal, like a legit, this guy is going to be our starting running back, are you comfortable with Isaiah Mosey and Mekhi Nelson and Quentin Ives, the 3-headed monster of guys that weren't recruited as high school running backs by anybody that was Nebraska or wasn't Nebraska? Mosey was a wide receiver, so
correct.
That's converted. Would you be okay with that if that's your 3-pronged rushing attack in 2026?
No, absolutely not.
So you've got to get your quarterback, your running back. You still have to probably add on your offensive line. Who knows what's going to happen at wide receiver? There's just a lot, and we don't know what offense they're going to run. And they might end up with Aiden Childs, and Jack is going to have a really tough time in 2026 if that's the case.
Oh yeah, I forgot you're a Childs defender. I forgot.
I'm not a defender. I'm pointing out that he's not nearly this turnover quarterback that you think he is.
I don't know. The numbers say otherwise.
Shafe, let me ask this though.
That they don't, and you ignored it, but that's
okay.
Shafe,
do you trust
machine?
Do you trust this operation though with Aiden Childs? Like this?
I mean, no, because I don't know what offense you're trying to run. Like if you put Aiden Childs in the sort of offense that Utah was running yesterday, I would be very interested in that. In which you're running kind of a power spread and you're running zone read and you're running your quarterback. At the same time, I'm someone who the reason I was excited about the Dylan Raiola era is I think Nebraska needs to get away from running quarterbacks in the Big Ten because I think by and large they can't survive.
And now we're all like, you got to get back to running a quarterback in the Big Ten.
In a perfect world, you have a guy that can move the pocket and can grab the first down when it's right in front of him, but he's not having to take off 12 times a game. Like it's just also in a perfect world, you have an offensive system that maximizes the players if they have in front of them. That hasn't happened either.
23 touchdowns to 14 interceptions in the last 2 years, Mike.
Yeah.
What?
My
test says interception machine. I don't know what I'm missing.
Crunch the numbers, and we'll come back about how that's a lower interception rate than your boy Casey Thompson, as I already did, and everything else. And so
you probably put arbitrary endpoints on that. 23 touchdowns, 14 interceptions.
Here's how it works.
Like this isn't even me. Like just what'd you say?
I added up all the passing attempts, and then I added up all the interceptions, and then you divide it, and then you get.
Oh, so now that's the line. Is it better than CT11? Who's
well, I was talking about your boy Casey
Sadie
Thompson.
Still hasn't made it right with. Then by the way, this isn't a bit just because Nebraska's recruiting him. This is something I've said about him while watching him in real time at Michigan State. Like
you said it before the season too, Jack. Like this is not like because Schaefer, I would like the one critique or one pushback I'd offer to Schaefer was like he said, "Oh yeah, people didn't like him because they watched him against Nebraska." No, I liked him because I watched him before this year, and I never come away impressed by that guy.
You didn't like him because you watched him before.
Yes, I didn't like him. Yeah, and then I watched him in that game, and
he was not very good as a sophomore. I thought he was better at times as a junior. But the one response that I had is someone, this was a couple of weeks ago or a week ago. Is he better than, are we sure that he'd be better than TJ Lateef? And it's like, okay, but if you go look, he had a good game against Indiana. He had a good game against Iowa's defense that Nebraska can't solve no matter who its quarterback is. But it's not like this is someone that can't play. The reason that you would take him is that he's an available quarterback. I don't think he should be the number one quarterback on anyone's board. And I would be somewhat surprised if that's who Nebraska just completely ends up with. But, I don't think I don't think he's a completely unplayable quarterback. I just don't think it changes the calculus for Nebraska winning a bunch of games in 2026.
Casey Thompson, 52 touchdowns, 24 interceptions career. Childs career, 27 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. It's nearly exactly the same. Casey Thompson,
and that's why you add up the attempts and the amount of interceptions per attempt, and then you get your rate.
Oh, okay. So creative.
I don't know how I have to explain to you
deep analytic that you're doing. I'm just reading the numbers.
Simple
Mike
formula.
is like the guy who's like, well, I don't trust batting average anymore in baseball. That's not a real stat.
It's about on base plus slugging there, Jack.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
you heard
OPS,
of
for sure.
Yeah, have you heard of OPS?
OPS plus if you really want to be war.
Okay. Well, my eyes and the frontline numbers tell me the story I need to know.
Be fair, though, you gave Anthony Grant the nickname I Test Anthony. We all know how that worked out.
Well, it was there at the beginning. It was there. I'm still waiting wondering if it's going to come out yet.
Well, he didn't comment on his, really secure ball handling. So,
no,
it could have been better.
Schaefer, what would your guess be on level, like the quarterback? Is it someone who has started in the Power 5? It is someone who has been a backup in the Power 5 and maybe was like a highly ranked high school player. Is it a FCS starter or is it a G5 starter? Like if you had to guess on who takes this first snap next year, or TJ Lateef, I guess, what bucket would you put the starting quarterback in?
Man, okay, so I want to be very clear. I don't have any complete inside information. I don't know what is going to happen.
What good are you?
Yeah, I'm not. That's
Unemployed with Mike Schaefer premieres Monday.
Jeez.
Why do you think I don't have a job, Jack?
Lost all his sources,
I don't have the info. Yeah, no sources. I just bring people on who know things. That's what I do now. Okay. I'm a point guard. I'm setting other people up. This is what you do as you age. I can't get to the hole anymore, so I stand further back and I make the passes.
Or Gary Payton, given the hat. You're the glove.
That's better.
Yeah.
Honestly, it feels like it's a quarterback that has power 4 experience, I guess. Whether that's a bona fide starter is sort of where I'm like unsure on. Because I could see if you get a guy that has played somewhat, but it was a highly touted guy that's coming from somewhere else, I could see that being a thing. I don't think they're going to end up with like the group of 5 quarterback or an FCS quarterback that was a starter elsewhere. I just don't see that one happening. Though I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, you put Mark Gronowski on Nebraska's football team. A version of Mark Gronowski on Nebraska's football team for 2026. Like, I'd feel good about that. That was a guy who had a great career at South Dakota State before he went to Iowa, and he was basically their like rich man's version of Adrian Martinez. I don't know how else I would describe him, but he was very good for Iowa. But I just don't think Nebraska goes that route. So we'll see. And Dana's particular about the type of quarterbacks that he wants. That's why I never felt like TJ Lateef was his guy necessarily. And so, we'll see. But it'd be a lot easier if I could tell you what I thought the offense was supposed to look like, or if they had a running back that they were going to give it to 225 times, or any of these things. But we also don't even know who the receivers are that this quarterback's going to be throwing to. So, if I had to guess, someone with Power 4 experience, not necessarily like an unquestioned starter or multiple years of starting, I think it's going to be a bit of a risk. And some of that is, I think they're going to try to spread their money out instead of spending it all at the quarterback position.
Good. You got to find the diamond in the rough at quarterback. You can't bet. You got too many other needs to go all in on that.
Yeah.
I agree.
Wow. Anything else, boys, before we say goodbye on this New Year's morning and get ready for Oregon and Texas Tech, which I think is going to be the best game of the entire first round?
Looking at my list here, I insulted Diet Mountain Dew, tried to fire Dana Holgorsen, and brought up Casey Thompson. I accomplished everything I wanted to do in the new year.
Excellent. Jack, anything off of your prep sheet we didn't get to?
No, I'm just excited to shift gears to basketball. Very excited to shift gears to basketball. I can't wait. This is like kind
big game tomorrow.
Hard break now. Very excited about that. We will be doing after Nebraska, or excuse me, I guess it's Nebraska Ball Hour now.
Correct.
With a new sponsor.
What?
Coming up for the first time on Friday. I'll give him a shout out now. We'll shout out Nebraska Realty, our new sponsor. Yes. We are Nebraska Ball Hour. We're breaking records Friday. If they win, get ready for the I-80. We're coming for you, Volleyball State. We are coming for
No, they got to come for us. We're already at the top.
Oh, yeah, we're already at the top.
It was you and me. It wasn't even you and Caleb.
That's right. Well, Caleb and I are coming for you, Josh, for the most watched show. If Nebraska beats Michigan State, it'll be a Friday night. If they win, we'll go hours. I'll go into the wee hours of the morning. Just talking about scenarios where Nebraska's in the top 3 in a couple weeks, right?
You ranked your destinations yet?
Yes, I've looked at I don't know if I've officially ranked them, but I have gone over them. And
seems like a good podcast topic for you. Rank the 8 spots that you can end up.
If money were no option and I could go anywhere, I want to go to San Diego. That's where I want to go.
So there's your number 1. That's my number 1 as well.
Yeah, San Diego's.
Your number 8?
Probably St. Louis. But again, it depends if we're factoring my ability to get there, that would go up. So
so I have like St. Louis in the bottom portion of it, but it's because I don't want to go there, but it is closer.
Yeah, Oklahoma City, I would rather go.
It's Greenville and it's Buffalo are my like 7.
Buffalo would be last, probably.
Yeah, Oklahoma City's 2 for me. I would love if they were down.
Yeah, that'd be good. That's drivable. That'd be in my top.
Bricktown's great. Oklahoma City, I don't want to call it a gem, but it's a good spot. It's a good spot.
Hey, this
Nebraska
is a great reminder.
Love it.
If anyone's out there and would like to sponsor the I-80 Club going to Nebraska's first round locale, we would love to be in conversation with you. You can send us an email, interstate80club@gmail.com. I'm not even kidding. If you want to do that, we are leveling up in 2026. Jack mentioned it. We have a title sponsor now for the Nebraska Ball Hour, which we will unveil tomorrow. We're very much looking forward to that.
We own Nebraska Ball.
Yeah, we do. And speaking of Nebraska ball, so Mike Schaefer, Unemployed with Mike Schaefer, starts on Monday. We know what he's going to be doing on a daily basis. One of the shows, the plan, right, Schaefer, the rest of the year, one of the shows is going to be every week a Nebraska ball-centric conversation that you will have
all the way,
a variety of guests.
We'll get through the season, through the postseason, I think.
All the way into early April is what you're talking about.
Nebraska Ball Tuesday. I've already locked in our co-host for Nebraska Ball Tuesday for this upcoming Tuesday. It'll be a different person each week, as we get rolling with this thing. So
I'm excited.
That'll be great. Wednesdays, we're going to hammer college football with Josh Peterson. It's going to be great.
Let's go.
Josh and I diving into every college football topic that we can get into. Plus, every day we're going to be talking about Nebraska, of course. It's going to be the news of the day, what's been going on. Thursdays will be a surprise for people. And then we'll see what the bookends of the week look like exactly. But I'm excited for this show. I'm excited to get going on Monday. As you guys heard, I have lots of opinions. And hey, by Monday we might already know who Nebraska's next quarterback is. That's multiple days into the portal at that point.
Wow. And if you thought, man, we had angry, critical Mike today. Flip that baby on its head for Nebraska basketball, because he is going to wax poetic about this Nebraska basketball team. He is going to weave a tapestry of optimism that you've never heard from Mike Schaefer when he talks about Nebraska basketball.
Just think the first Nebraska Ball Tuesday could be after Nebraska takes care of business against Michigan State and Ohio State.
Oh, God.
15-0. I
can't think about it. Don't let me think about it. Stop it. I can't. I'm not allowed. I've had a policy. Don't allow yourself to think about the world where the wins happen, because I get out of control. It's like I've got the upside down after watching Stranger Things lately, but like the upside down of Nebraska basketball never losing, and like this, it's almost terrifying. It scares me a little bit to think about it.
I'm still like a couple episodes into season 4. At some point, maybe I'll polish off the rest of Stranger Things. So maybe that can be my goal for 2026. Cool. I assume you guys all stayed up and watched the episode that dropped.
My daughter
I haven't even watched season 4.
She watched the entire thing sitting in the chair on her iPad and reacted in real time and gave commentary. And I'm yelling at her because I'm a few episodes behind. I'm like, don't give me spoilers the whole time.
How long is the series finale? I know it's like
2
a movie.
hours. She said she was watching it forever.
The whole 4th season is like every episode's 2 hours. That's why it's impossible.
Yeah, that's why I can't catch up to her.
Yeah. So that's a movie. By the way, Shay said that he's got a surprise for Thursdays. Jack and I know what the surprise is. I think people are gonna love that freaking show. And especially with all of the stuff that's about to go down for Nebraska football. I think that is going to be, as all of the Schaefer shows will be, I think the Thursday one is going to be must listen each and every week.
Get in.
Noon every day.
1.
Noon every day. Catch on the podcast. If you can't get it live, we're on demand on YouTube.
Yep, go subscribe. We have the link in the show notes. His pods are going to be going up in full on his own feed. Unemployed with Mike Schaefer. Go search that, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your pods, and we'll set up a playlist on the YouTube channel so you will never miss an episode, again, as they drop each and every weekday at noon. And then, I mean, we're still so far away from the football season, but we've already had the conversations as well. Mike, what will it look like in the fall? We're very excited.
Have you decided how you're going to do like show interaction? Are you going to use the Discord? Are you going to use the YouTube chat? Do you know what you're going to do yet? With
great
that?
question.
I have no idea. We're gonna roll it out
how
there.
It works.
And we're gonna see what makes the most sense. I'm trying to. It's one of the things that I don't like complimenting Josh Peterson, but one of the things that he's very good at is his ability to interact within the Discord while the show is going on. He can bring you the comments that people are saying. I'm over here like just trying to make sure my cursor is on the right tab and not getting confused and everything else. But yeah, I mean, Josh does a great job with that. So I'll have to work on it. I don't plan on ignoring the YouTube commenters. So people are popping in there, and I, from hosting previous shows, know that there's some YouTubers that are going to be real excited that I'm back in the Nebraska.
I already saw some.
I
already turned it off.
So, maybe some of them can find their way onto the
super chats, though. Yeah.
Drop us a super. We would love it. Well, Schaefer, we're so pumped to have you starting your show that will again debut on Monday noon. Unemployed with Mike Schaefer premieres on Monday.
Who you guys got today in the games, real quick? Somebody asked in the chat.
Oh, I'm going to go Texas Tech to beat Oregon. I'm going to go Indiana by double digits over Bama, and I'll go Georgia rolls tonight against Ole Miss.
The exact same picks as Josh. I want Ole Miss to win.
Yes.
Because I think that would be a lot more fun, but it feels like by the end of that game, it's going to be like Georgia 38, Ole Miss 10. And it stinks. I'm not excited about that at all.
I'm opposite on the first two. I don't think this Signetti thing is real. And then it's smoke and mirrors. Okay. And then in the second one, give me I guess the first one. Give me Oregon. Big Ten power.
Okay. Even though Indiana beat Oregon on the road, but Indiana's not for real. Interesting.
Yeah. Smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors indeed. This Signetti thing ain't lasting. People have bought into it are gonna a lot of egg on their face.
If Texas Tech, Indiana, and Ole Miss all win, your final four coaches remaining would be Kurt Signetti, Joey McGuire. I don't even know who Ole Miss's coach is now.
It's Pete Golding.
Okay, Pete Golding, who
and Mario Cristobal
learned his name, and then Mario. What a wild Final Four coaches.
This put more interest in. The Miami winning that game put interest to me back in the college football playoff.
Oh yeah,
I was having.
Well, why wasn't it there before? I think Oregon Texas Tech is like an.
Were you worried, Jack, about Ohio State just going on another run and we were going to get?
Yeah, Ohio State, boredom with Ohio State, and too many rematches.
That's why I want Georgia out. Just give us four fresh teams.
Four newbies. That would be
100%. This is so much more interesting and exciting to me than it was even last year.
Even more than when Alabama and Clemson played each other all those times.
God, 4 times in a row.
You
got to see Kelly Bryant versus Alabama.
I just wish it wasn't. The Ole Miss thing makes it a little interesting because the whole lane thing. So even that's not that bad.
And their offense is fun.
A conference situation. Yeah. Division II quarterback. Find that guy.
Yeah, seriously.
Find Trinidad Chambliss.
Find Chambliss, Matt. Find Chambliss. All right.
In the same vein, find an offensive coordinator.
And find an offensive coordinator. All right, that is after Nebraska football. Again, patreon.com/I80 Club for all the stuff that we're doing. Unemployed with Mike Schaefer premieres on Monday at noon. Tomorrow, by the way, Big Ten Breakdown, a big hoops preview from Ben Stevens, including his game of the week, Nebraska and Michigan State. Get ready for this.
Finally.
Speaking of that game.
I'm so glad to say goodbye to this football game.
Yes. The Nebraska Ball Hour premieres, Jack? A half hour after the game ends or thereabouts, so 10:30 or so. Jack's not listening to me anymore. He's putting on a different hat. So that is coming up tomorrow night with Jack and Caleb. Caleb live from the arena, Jack live from home. as they recap Nebraska and Michigan State. And then a Saturday morning coffee show this weekend. And there we go. All right, boys. Schaefer, Jack, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2026. Enjoy the football today.
I will.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.
There they go.